And it lasted the whole 30 plus years. It is. It's very
Good evening, people. Thank you for coming out tonight to attend tonight's council meeting on the 15th of July 2025. I have an extra thing to say at the start of the meeting today because I have to tell everybody about the audio-visual recording of council meetings. So there's a compulsory statement. So I would like to advise that an audio-visual recording is being made of this meeting. I also remind everyone present to be respectful and considerate towards others attending the meeting. Language or behaviour that could be perceived as offensive, defamatory or threatening to any person attending the meeting or to those listening to the recording will not be tolerated. So the first item on tonight's agenda is the acknowledgement of country. I'd like to begin by paying respect to the traditional and original owners of this land, the Wimmera people, to pay respect to those that have passed before us, and to acknowledge today's Tasmanian Aboriginal community who are custodians of this land. There's a list of those there in attendance. We have an apology from Councillor Campbell. She's on approved leave of absence. Do we have any declarations of interest on any of the items on today's agenda? No. Okay. So item 5, confirmation of the minutes from the council meeting 17th of June 2025. Recommendation that the minutes of the council meeting held on 17th of June 2025 be confirmed. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Reid and Councillor Nichols to second. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much. A second lot of minutes for a special council meeting held on the 24th of June, that the minutes of the special council meeting held on the 24th of June 2025 be confirmed. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Larkins and Councillor Reid to second. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Next, before you is the Mayor's report. The recommendation that the Mayor's communication report be as listed and be received. Councillor Bully and Councillor Larkins. There's lots of meetings there. This month, June to July, has been quite a quiet month, I presume because of the elections. Quite benign. So, any questions? Hello.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Reynolds.
That's okay. Just after some more information in regards to the South East Sports Complex Master Plan and the first draft.
So the first draft has come into the council and has been viewed by senior management and myself, who have provided some feedback to Inspiring Place, some comments on their conclusions that they've drawn, and that feedback went back last week, I believe, last Friday. So we're waiting for a reply, at which point I believe it will come to council.
We've got the reply, we're considering their reply.
Oh, okay. So we have their reply, we are considering their reply, and then it will be open to the council and the community.
First, the council.
Community first and the council.
And will that one be up for amendment as well, or is this the final copy that's been presented to us now?
Hand over to the...
Oh, thanks, Mayor. So we've worked through quite a process with the consultant through the scope and the engagement with clubs and associations. Done some tried to do a community walk and talk, which wasn't particularly well attended, but there's been a lot of oversight from the internal project team. So we're just trying to get it to a point where we think it's represents our future desires. It's a long-term document, plus is respectful of the feedback they've received from the users and their governing bodies as well. And then it'll be tested with broader community engagement and also come back to council as in this council group. So there'll be the opportunity to make amendments if need be. We're trying to, within the scope of the engagement, we're trying to get it as, given the amount of experience around the table, get it as close as we think it could be. But, so the opportunity is there. I think we shouldn't need it, but
Thank you.
Any other questions on? Councillor Reid.
You mentioned the state election. Has there been much advocacy opportunities for the state election?
No, very, very limited. I've reached out to the parties and some of the local individuals. I've been approached by a few independents for a follow-up, but they have not followed up. So the invitation is there. The door has been very open. I've informed everybody that that's the case, but no.
Thank you.
Councillor Reynolds.
You had a breakfast, sorry, where are we? CRMP community engagement, no, sorry, wrong one. Pre-budget briefing breakfast, guest with Hobart Airport Corporation attended with Councillor Larkins.
Yes.
Could I have more information in regards to that briefing?
I think it was a post-budget breakfast rather than a pre-budget breakfast, so I apologise for that error there. There were numerous organisations that had tables. I was invited to join the airport table, airport-sponsored table, which was and they had various agricultural industry representatives and tourism industry representatives on that table. So it was a good networking opportunity, and it was Guy Barnett gave a brief sort of, explanation of why the budget was what was advertised, and we were supplied with a briefing booklet with further information in as well. The airport, the discussion at the table around the airport was one of accessibility to industry and the benefits of the airport to manufacturers and growers, etc. So they hosted the table. Sharon, you could always ask a question at the end of the meeting if you like, if you are inquiring. You can say you save your questions, then you can ask if you like. That's okay. That's okay. Any further questions? No? Well, in which case then, if everyone's happy with the report, I can show of hands the next section. Unanimous, thank you very much. No extra supplementary items. Item 8, the council workshop report, which is there before you. And then on to page 6, item 11, work group reports. Recommendation that the work group reports as listed be received. Councillor Larkins and Councillor Nichols to second. Thank you. I open the floor. Councillor Larkins.
Question to the General Manager. Robert, how did your meeting with the Hobart Vintage Machinery Society and the relocation of the main shed go?
Through the mayor, it was positive. We haven't yet landed an agreement from them to amend the lease to enable the men's shed to be located there. But positive steps to in a preliminary sense, work out how much land we think is required, and some of the practicalities around sort of co-leasing arrangement between their requirements and the men's shed and line. So our project engineer, Anthony Wallace, is helping a lot with forming up that indicative plan. We need to then put that to the society so they can formally vote on it. That they were of a mind to accommodate this earlier on, but weren't as sure about that more recently, but through our dealings with them, we've been able to provide some clarity, and in that period as well, the grant has actually landed finally a year after the announcement for the state government for their contribution for the mention. So we have until end of June next year to finish the project, so the clock is ticking and it's made it a lot more pointed as far as getting formal consent from them so we can progress the DA and all that stuff that goes with it. So it's making inroads, but it's not resolved.
Fantastic. Thank you for that.
Thank you. A question please for Mr. Higgins. On page, number 6 on the report, it says here met with Director of People and Performance and Jobs Task Youth Connector Program. Would you be so kind to share a little bit about that program?
Through the mayor, that was a follow-up to our workshop we had last week, where we were discussing a program proposal that best wished to run through accessing TAS Community Fund funding. So it was just a follow-up to that, to get some facts and clarity around the Youth Connector program and just the arrangement with Jobs TAS and Best, and the awareness of this project as well that the Best are proposing. I might actually put Jess on the spot as far as, because she has a better appreciation of these matters than I do, around the Youth Connector program status, please.
So the Youth Connector program status was a pilot program funded by Jobs TAS in various locations within the state. That pilot program's finished now, and I think they're exploring options for what happens with that into the future. And the program that Best are requesting funds for is a similar program. Their own version of the program for Sorell and the South East.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you.
General Manager, if I could just ask about your meeting with Christian Schools Tasmania. Is there any time frame and where we're at the Catholic schools as well?
Through the mayor, so that meeting was around a site that Christian Schools TAS are interested in to set up a new facility, not a K-12, but at least a primary school site. But they're in the early stages of doing the due diligence on that. So it was I've had a relationship with them now for many years, where they've explored different sites in the municipality to do various sized schools. But
have they indicated any sort of time frame they'd like to be set up and established in Sorell, or it's just still just inquiring?
They're a bit more serious around it now. It's all just comes down to if they can secure this particular site and then get the DA through as well. So that's at least 2 years plus before it would be anything happening on ground. It's certainly the most positive interaction we've had with them, diversion actually having the site to consider formally. In terms of Catholic education, Taz, the property they've purchased east of the bypass is still obviously sitting there. The planning minister amended the urban growth boundaries I've mentioned previously, so it incorporates that parcel, but there needs to be a lot of work done around infrastructure planning and rezoning to get that to fruition. And also the property that they purchased is behind other properties, so it's certainly a longer term project.
Councillor Reid.
Thank you. To the General Manager, again on page 6, the meeting regarding 139 Chain Road, could provide an update on that.
After the met, there was a bit of a check-in with the new owner, developed that site. So they've engaged themselves separately and with Shane, our planning manager, as well, around options and how they might look to stage it. So it's just an opportunity I wanted to leave with the Mayor and Councillor Larkins and Andrew Pike from Best to talk about various aspects, and also how the development may relate to those 3 blocks of ours that are sitting between it and the highway. So they're certainly working toward a stage DA, but I couldn't tell you how far away this will be submitted. There's some zoning intricacies on the site that are going to get resolved for longer term stages. So there's light industry zoning, which is the bulk, but there's general res, which also runs up the side with the other bypass. So it's why they need to stage it.
Thank you.
Anything further? Councillor Larkins.
Thank you. Just a question to Jess, if I may. Jess, what was the latest in regards to the canteen operations with soccer and salvos? How is that progressing from how canteen works for the stadium owners?
Through the man. There's been no real change to how that's operating, which has been happening for quite some time.
Yeah.
So soccer, Southeast United Soccer, predominantly run the bar and sub canteen, and the Southeast Salvos running the canteen.
That's good. And you might not know that the operators the users are finding utilisation of that when they're booking. In general, just thinking back to when we had some of that initial disruptions.
The higher res are aware there's a canteen, do you mean?
They're aware of and able to utilise state.
Yes, so part of the booking process is that they indicate if they require a canteen or not, and that's something that we've been working through with the operators of the canteen in terms of what makes it viable to open a canteen.
Awesome. Thanks, Jess.
Councillor Reid, you had a question?
Yes, just one last one about virtual care clinic. There was a meeting on the 18th of June. Has there been any further developments there?
Through the Mayor, myself and Oliver have met with our legal provider and a potential agent around how we may deal with the site if we were to take it to market and how our site. But in terms of that consortium, other than providing them a copy of the subdivision approval plan for the site, which is a public document, there's been no further contact with myself. So the DA for Station Lane was issued. We had that SPA money to occur, but there's a lot of very further comment or position from that proponent about it. And I've been in contact with Bev White around how it may be rolled out, the funding, because the current arrangement is the funding for the existing urgent care fees are run through the state and then to the providers, but she's not sure yet if they'll replicate that or do it direct.
Thank you.
Any further questions on the work group report? Councillor Chan.
Yes, my colleagues have beat me to a number of lists, which is good. I don't have to ask. Jess, though, I'll ask you about the Sorell Community Network meeting you had with, is there anything you're allowed to tell us?
Yes, it was through the mayor. It was really a general chat about various things that the network were interested in looking at doing within the community. Some of them we talked through and were a bit too big, perhaps, and others might be smaller scale projects that they could potentially be involved with. Or operate in the community, like things like how to hire St George's Square, for example, host events and things that we talked through. Some of that they told us about a youth report that we shared some information about what we were doing in that space. Yes, pretty general. They did query around why their community grants haven't been approved that have been put to council. So we talked through the process and the criteria and guidelines around that.
I thought that might
So it
have
was
been
quite general there. There was quite a list. There was a list of things.
Thank you, thank you. Now, on page 35, our environmental officer has talked a lot about a meeting we went to on waste. I was just going to ask them,
I'll come to the table.
it's probably something that the general manager can answer. On our the rates and our waste management levy, have we had a lot or any feedback?
Through me,
Queries?
I've had one direct one, haven't answered yet, Friday around I believe there's a resident who also has a boat shed in front of their place, so I think they're possibly unimpressed with having two with the waste, other community waste charges, but I haven't actually made contact with him yet. Greg's across the field.
Through the chair, look, it'd be fair to say we have had a number of inquiries across a range of properties. Generally speaking, the boat sheds has been one, but that was obviously something that we expected. There's not as many in the way of rural properties so far. In preparing for it, we did a little bit of a spiel for our customer service staff, so to provide a consistent response to everyone, and that referenced what was in the newsletter to start with, so that when people did make inquiries, we could go back to the newsletter, so they actually had the basis of what it was. It also helped the customer service staff to be able to explain. Then we've also put together a response for our waste customer service officer to provide them, and then obviously a few of these related to what I that was been explaining.
So it wasn't as bad as you thought?
Not yet.
I've only had a couple of inquiries. They came very close together. But the customers have been very satisfied with the supply that's been supplied by council. Makes sense.
That's good. Thank you very much. This is a little bit flippant. The mobile sauna. My husband then finished, this is what an expert on saunas, and I won't say the same about myself, but there was a suggestion that the owner of the mobile sauna came to council to talk about council land, is that?
Through the mayor, there have been some discussions. I've been peripherally involved in them. To start with, they've gone through our planning staff because obviously it's conducting business. So one of the first things to establish is A, landowner consent, and B, whether it's sort of permissible within that land use site. So one of our planning officers did provide a more generic response because we are getting a number of inquiries from people wanting to conduct business on council land. So obviously we have to provide a consistent approach, and we wouldn't want to be leading people in the garden path about whether it's suitable on council land when it actually contravenes the planning scheme. And that's the other thing, because it is a commercial business.
I was just going to make a suggestion, perhaps they could, go and see the operator of the swimming pool. You could have the sauna on the side and make it come into the pool, but
I think my response generally is that businesses should be in business areas, not as much on council land, but
Yeah.
that would make sense.
It's a novel idea, and that bar sauna.
I think it's quite popular for them.
It's kind of a canal, the canal.
Councillor Reid.
One last thing, a acknowledgement on page 16, the finance report, there's mention of a grant that we do with the finance staff do, and just wanted to note how important that is in setting the things in positioning the council to be successful in future grants. So thanks for all that work that goes into tying up the loose ends.
Any further on the work group reports? No? Well, I have a show of hands for all those in acceptance of this report provided. Thank you. Unanimous, thank you. So over to page 48, item 12. Petition still to be actioned, and there is no change to the Blue Lagoon draft management plan. The following page, we received a petition with regards to the platypus habitat at Dodgers Ferry. So the council have responded as appropriately, and the recommendation that in accordance with section 60 2B of the Local Government Act 1993, council resolves to receive and note this report, and pending receipt of eDNA monitoring results, to then consider options including the development and implementation of an appropriate habitat improvement plan. Now we're moving for this recommendation. Councillor Mira-Casada and Councillor Larkins to second. Disappointing that we're still waiting for the DNA report. Happens, DNA is identified so much more quickly on telly and CSI, but not obviously in the world of local government. And it is genuinely frustrating because there are a lot of people that are waiting to, they're concerned about what happened to the platypus, how it appeared on the Lewisham beach, and what can we, as a council, what can we do to support the population if there is one in that area, and where we need to focus our attention. So, is there anybody that would like to comment on this petition? Councillor Mira-Casada.
Thank you. Yes, it's a comment. I don't know if it's a question. I would like to commend the way that this has been organized and dealt with and recommended. I think it really shows empathy and commitment to our natural environment and to actually resolve this community issue that, because of the petition, it's like obviously showing it is important for people. So thank you for that, to the general manager and the staff that are going through it. I really want to say that I'm really impressed that there's so much research being done at the moment with the eDNA, that it's going to show, bring a really good picture of the natural environment, and it will give us an idea of how to move forward. And I guess there's a question after that, if I may, please. So what are the implications of getting that information? So would it be good to get an idea of what happens, so we get that information, and then, yes, how do we move forward with that?
Oh, that's familiar. If Council, you're referring to the DNA results, well, we're happy to distribute those to Council when we get them. I was supposed to do 2 weeks ago. We're not sure why they haven't turned up, but they're not secretive information. There's nothing we don't want to disclose about it, but, so we will certainly advise, advise council, and we can advise the petitioners as well what has come of it, but we just presume you would have known for sure by now, so. I'm not sure if I actually answered all your question or not, then, sorry.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, so if that comes positive, that there is a platypus environment, that's a bit the question, or if it comes negative. So if it's a positive, then is this going to be, if it's in the Dodgers Ferry Reserve, it becomes part of that reserve management plan, or how does that work?
Well, that's through the mayor, that's the million-dollar question, is we've sort of been sitting on the fence about whether we go left or right until we know if there's evidence or not. So I haven't really discussed it any further with Deb around how we actually tackle it.
Yeah.
Pretty content with the area he covered with the samples that he took, and we're just going to, it's just the frustrating aspect, we can't say yes or no or what we're going to do or not do, so we just got to wait till we get those results.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, the comment before was that it's really good to see that the decision is going to be research-based, and so I'm really happy to see that, and I'm sure the community members that signed the petition will be happy about that as well. Yeah.
Any more comments on the petition and our response? No. So all those in favour of this recommendation, please unanimous, thank you very much. Item 15 on the agenda is governance. So this is the 5.1, winding up of the STCA and alternative proposal. RDA has supported collaborative network of Southern Tasmanian councils. The recommendation is there before you. Would you like me to read it? Can I have someone to move that recommendation, please? Councillor Larkins and Councillor Terenius to second. So this is generally just going through the process of winding up this Southern Tasmanian organisation, council organisation. Some of the original councils have already withdrawn, and this is just tidying up loose ends so we can make a new road forward in terms of working collaboratively with certain regional councils, and it also gives us the option to follow different routes of collaboration as well, such as the metropolitan force metro councils, and our ability along with Brighton to work with them to sit at the table as adjunct councils. So we still have that lobbying power to the metropolitans, and we also have Sorell, which is a South East Regional Development Association as well, which is the South East corner councils working together to promote the region. Are there any questions on this document? Recommendation to wind up the network? Councillor Reid.
I think the report explains the situation thoroughly. I was just wondering, to the General Manager, in your experience as part of the Southern Tasmanian Council's authority, what worked well about it? I mean, it's been a slow demise, but or has this just been a long time coming?
Through the mayor, I mean, looking at Councillor Terenius, who's
I do have something to say. Hold on.
And my question is,
it's just like, for me, probably 10 years ago, it's the last time it was effective, and that's not being critical, it's just And all the relationship with government, state governments has changed as well over time, and there's less desire to have a partnership approach that really dropped off the radar post the 2014 election. And the STCA was structured differently then and resourced differently, so it's been a bit of a steady decline. And also, President Company excluded, some mayors haven't helped as well with some time the line and playing as a collective, so which is inherent when you've got the likes of Tasman and Hobart trying to come up with a set of advocacy points for an election, like it's short and cheap. So this is fundamentally different in that it's incumbent on all the GMs and CEOs to be responsible for it, to try and take it out of the local politics. So that's going to be interesting to see how we go delivering on this. But it's been a fairly constant demise to STCA. We've tried numerous reviews, and it's just each time with each passing, there's one less council around the table as well, so it's just become ineffective.
I'll be interested in anything else for the Tracy's reflections.
If my memory serves me correct, Sorell and the regional councils weren't initially with the Southern Tasmanian Council Authority. It says here in the report that in 2006, but prior to that, we weren't included, and there was a fair bit of lobbying to get us included, much to the, I think, the disgust of the metropolitan councils. And that was a problem, General Manager, wasn't it, for a long time too. The metropolitan councils didn't understand the regional councils, and a lot of the regional councils had representatives that were quite outspoken and demanding things that probably they shouldn't have been, but that's my recollection of it, and there was a slow demise. Sometimes, the meetings could be quite interesting. Other times, we chewed over the same things over and over again. That's my memory of it. I haven't been to one for a long time, but maybe yeah.
I think, well, I came on board as mayor when the decision had already been made to wind down the authority. And we are markedly different from some of the other councils, as you say, like Hobart is very different from Tasman and Glamorgan and Spring Bay. We all have separate identities, and it is very hard to lobby for the same thing when you have different needs and different perspectives. So I haven't been, there's sort of been a relaxing into the fact that the STCA wasn't working. So now my focus, rather than reflecting on what didn't work and I don't know, my goal is to activate those tools that we do have in SERDA and the arrangement that we have with the Metro Councils and Brighton, because we are very similar to Brighton. So our goals, our aspirations align more with the councils that we're working with at the moment. So that's where my focus is, to activate and motivate those.
Thank you.
Any other comments on this recommendation? No? All those in favour of the recommendation, please show hands. Unanimous. Thank you very much. Now on to page 67, item 17.1, the Community Grants Programme update. The recommendation is there before you. Pursuant to section 24 of the Local Government Act 1993, Council resolves to one, the revised community grants programme, the revised community grants guidelines, terms of reference, and approve the delegation of authority to the community grants assessment panel. There's further details in that recommendation. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Larkins and Councillor Reid to second them. So we've got to hand over to Jess to explain the changes, please.
The significant change is to the community grants process in terms of how applications are reviewed and approved or not approved, which will be undertaken by a special committee of council made up of staff members and councillors, rather than each community grant coming to a council workshop and subsequent council meeting.
Very succinct, but well done. Can I open the floor for discussion? Councillor Reid.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to support this motion and thankful for the detail that's gone into it. It's something that I've been reflecting on and suggesting for, well, several years now, so it's great to see the maturing of the process and it should work well.
Sorry.
Any further comments, questions? No? Right. All those in favour of the recommendation to the update community grants programme, please show hands. Unanimous, thank you very much. Oh.
Yeah, I'm trying to turn this up.
Are you in favour of this
Yes,
recommendation?
of course I am. Sorry, I'm just listening to a ring. I need council license.
Item 17.2, youth plan. Recommendation that the council resolves to endorse the youth plan and note the proposed implementation and resourcing approach outlined in this report. Can I have a move, please? Councillor Reid and Councillor Larkins. I'm very excited about this, very enthused. I think this is a big forward step for our community, young people in the next generation of this community. And I'm really grateful to the council for putting in the work, the homework that forms this plan and committing money towards it so we can do it properly. Can I open the floor for comment, please? Councillor Reid.
Thank you. Once again, this is a strategy that's been a long time coming, and it's fantastic to have it finally here for approval. The consultation, the capacity of the council now to respond to what young people are asking for and to provide some really tangible supports for young people in the Sorell and surrounds is just incredibly important and not before time. So I'm very, very happy to support this motion. And also commend the work that's gone into to crafting the strategy and particularly making it such an engaging document. So well done to everyone involved.
It is embedded in our strategic plan and our annual plan, which gives it a really sound foundation to success. So I'm looking forward to the future of this one. Are there any further comments on Councillor Mirasada?
Thank you. Yes, of course, we're all excited about this. Quick question, please, for either the general manager or not sure. the time frame. So this is a plan that will be updated, how many years, what do we see with this plan? Like, how long is it going to be there? And we're going to assess results, and if you could give us a bit of detail about that.
So to begin with, we'll be reviewing the plan internally each year in terms of what we're able to achieve and having an action plan that comes from the youth plan in terms of what we're aiming to achieve for each year. And then the plan will be reviewed periodically as required.
There's very important research went into creating this plan. So I was wondering about that. That was a very thorough consultation and report that is supporting this plan. And is that also going to be updated as part of reviewing the plan? Is there any plans for that?
When Why Not were engaged to undertake the consultation, council didn't have any one working in the youth space at all to engage directly with young people. We've now approved the appointment of a youth development coordinator and the retaining of Fitzroy Street to become the youth hub. One of the key roles of the youth development coordinator will be to lead the youth squad, who will be a key group in terms of continuing the engagement with young people within the community and everybody that walks through the door of the youth hub. So we'll be in a different position to have more ongoing consultation than that large body of work that Why Not did.
All right, thank you.
Councillor Larkin.
Thank you. I'd just like to also commend that this is going to be great, and it's going to be great to see us get an execution. And to sort of go on, Jess, with what you said there with the ability to coordinate and connect there, I think that's going to be really key with our ability to partner with people that are already in these spaces and doing activities to help coordinate and connect youth through to opportunities that they may not be aware of. And we certainly talked about this in the workshop, that there's a multitude of things that are out there, and sometimes you just don't know that they exist to operate. And so hopefully this will be able to open some doors and also encourage other youth organisations to want to engage in Sorell.
Yeah, we've definitely identified the three achievables for this year, which Jess spoke to, the appointment of a staff member and the youth hub, and advocate for bringing the services in. I am very conscious of the fact that we don't overstretch ourselves this year, so we create that solid foundation working with those individuals that we already have here, and create a pathway for the young people as they get older, filling their needs, so they can aspire and achieve as well. So start small, solid foundation, and continually review and build from there.
No, I was just going to say on page 103, it says building all partnerships with, down the bottom of page 103, and I think that's important for partnerships with,
Yes.
with those who are already working at the youth, and a lot of them have done a pretty good job, I think.
Yes, yeah. We work better together rather than in isolation.
That's for sure.
Yeah. And there's a lot of work gone into this plan and report, so I thank those that have contributed and filled the pages. So thank you very much for taking part, all those who have. So all those in favour of the recommendation to accept this report, unanimous. Thank you very much. Right. 17.3, page 113. Communication and engagement strategy. The recommendation that the council resolves to endorse the revised communication and engagement strategy. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Reid and Councillor Larkins. Second. Again, a lot of work gone into this in reviewing how the council engages and converses with the community. We have had input from the community on how we could possibly do things differently and to improve the experience. Notably, we this last year have been, as a council, going out into the community rather than inviting people to us. We've been reaching out directly to the communities, and that's had a really positive response back from the community. So that's just one of the things that we're doing. Are there any comments on this recommendation for the new strategy? Councillor Reid.
Thank you. Once again, congratulations to everyone involved in putting this together. It's a really terrific step forward, building on the previous strategy, the 2020 strategy, and providing some really strong guidance and procedures for the community engagement process, which is terrific, particularly extending that to project management and documenting and reflecting the expanded approach to community engagement that's been taking place, as you referred to, Mel. I can see opportunities to build on it further, but that's something that we can follow up in at a later time. I look forward to the placemaking approach evolving and strengthening, and the walking the talk, which I think is where the rubber hits the road, to use another cliche, in terms of community engagement. It's doing what we say we'll do, and in this case that means working with stakeholders and communicating with rather than at. So the ingredients are all there, and we're already, as the activities reported in the work group reports show, there's already a lot of work underway. So,
yes, there is. And it also allows the council and the community to celebrate their joint achievements.
Absolutely.
Which is, we've been very quiet and very humble, but we need to celebrate as well. So if there's any further questions on this strategy, council engagement? No? All those in favour of the recommendation to endorse the strategy? Is that unanimous? I think I have missed a hand flick. Yes, right. Unanimous response. Thank you very much. On to item 18.1, page 140 of tonight's agenda. The Executive Summary Financial Report of June 2025. Recommendation that the Executive Summary Financial Report June 2025 year to date be received and noted by Council. Can I have a move, please? Councillor Woolley and Councillor Nichols. Usual, very comprehensive report, isn't it? Very few rates outstanding at the end of the year. Hard to find questions when the explanation is good. Are there any questions about that? Councillor Reid.
thank you. Just on page 140, the list of cash reserves. How does that list change in terms of when it's allocated and used? When does that happen?
Yeah, through the back. That's a good question, Councillor Reid. I'm trying to think, when we do it, if it's end of year, or when we update either quarterly or each 6 months. I'll confirm that with Scott, the acting manager, because I'm very mindful with our particular capital projects where we've nominated the source of funding and many are coming out of particularly the public open space contributions. Making sure that the balance is adjusted accordingly. So I'll chase up with Mr. Nicol and I'll report back.
Thank you. Any other questions? No? All those in favour of the recommendation to accept this financial report? Unanimous, thank you very much. Item 20, health and compliance. 20.1, notice of intention, new roads bylaw. The recommendation that in accordance with the section 126(1) of the Local Government Act 1993, Council resolves to A, make a new road bylaw and B, prepare a regulatory impact statement. Can I have a move, please? Councillor Larkins and Councillor Nichols to second. Thank you very much. Would you like to expand on this, please?
Thank you, Mayor. This is, I suppose, the beginning of the process with the bylaw that, whilst I'm attached to the bylaw and provided councillors with an update since providing the agenda item, where some subsequent legal advice was obtained and to provide that update. But essentially, this motion is to direct the council to make a bylaw. The purpose of attaching the bylaw is obviously to inform council and the community, generally speaking, what the bylaw is actually about. The process then follows to preparing the regulatory impact statement. That then goes to the Director of Local Government to obtain the authority to release that regulatory impact statement. So there's a review of the regulatory impact statement. And then the community consultation sort of begins. So you the opportunity to make representations on that bylaw, and those representations come back to council. So we are obviously roads are essentially within my area, but I've been assisting managing infrastructure and assets with the bylaw and feeding in, I suppose, to the point of view as a regulator, what are the subject areas that we need to regulate and where there are some potential regulatory gaps. And that was some of those updates from where they were provided, like damage to roads in one area that wasn't really covered too well. It was okay in relation to crossovers, but there wasn't an effect for someone that comes along and decides to start for whatever reason, lawful or not, the damage our road. So we wanted to make that an offence and then have the ability to require someone who damages our road to rectify. And there was also another step included that when contractors do works on council roads, that they have to notify us beforehand. And these are things that aren't directly related to subdivisions that are dealt with by the subdivision permits. That's just when the obvious private works need to occur, and that's generally outside of people working under telecommunications legislation or other federal laws that can essentially just rock up and work on our land and tell us. But the other sort of gap in the existing bylaw was the ability to then require those people who are doing those works to do them to a particular standard. That's what is the definition of council standards. So and they can reflect LGAT standards for doing civil works or relevant Australian standards. So if they aren't done to that standard, the bylaw then gives that power to go back to the people who are doing it and require them to rectify or upgrade the works that are done on their roads.
Any questions or comments on this? Councillor Reid.
A question that I thought was answered in the report, but I couldn't find it, is talks about the owner of the land and the owner of the road reserve, a council road, and the road reserve is council,
Yep.
obviously. But nature strips are part of the road reserve, is that the point? That's the whole point of addressing nature strips in this bylaw.
Mayor, if I may elaborate further, there's a few, from a terminology point of view, in the bylaw, the definition of a road includes the road reserve against the nature strip. Sometimes for the purposes of clarity for those people that read the bylaw, it's better to include definitions of what a nature strip actually constitutes, because there was a couple of other gaps in the bylaw where we covered vegetation removal quite well, but if someone decides to plant things on the nature strip, it wasn't actually an offence, and that in itself could have a lot of issues for our infrastructure or side businesses and things like that.
So if I may follow up, in a nutshell, what will be the bylaw effect in terms of planting on nature strips? It refers to mowing and, the grass nature strip, which is pretty common, but, people are perhaps more likely these days to not do that and want to plant different things.
It would be, obviously there's a degree of common sense with any sort of legislation that would apply that, someone who puts a small planting, I don't think it's going to incur much wrath from a compliance point of view. But if someone starts planting out and undertaking and crowding gardens and things like that, it's not saying you can't do it, but you would need to obtain a permit if you wish to do that.
Thank you.
Councillor Larkins.
If I may, received different complaints about works that happen along the road that cause interruption of businesses throughout the municipality. Is that part of what you were saying, is to address that where someone has the right to come and do works on a section of road like that, causing interruption, but no one sort of is notified because they just sort of show up and do their job?
Mayor, if I may answer that question, it can do. I suppose it partly depends on who's doing it, because if it's someone working on behalf of telecommunications under Commonwealth law, it just won't happen to do it.
Sure.
If it's like, for example, a neighbour might be doing some work that wouldn't apply in your case, but if for the purpose of the discussion comes along and they're doing some civil works on their property and affects the nature strip or the road under the bylaw, and that does reflect existing practice. We do require, or infrastructure and assets do require emergency notification for, just that the bylaw currently doesn't make it a legal requirement to get to do it. It's just very accepted practice for the view. So if they didn't do it, and you have a particular reason, that then gives you the ability to sanction someone for doing it, or if they do the work and it's not to standard, if we can say go back and fix it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? That's Marie.
On page 153, in the, is it an example bylaw or the draft bylaw?
Yes.
At point 5, it talks about the owner of land responsible for costs associated with vehicle crossing service on that land. Is that referring to the council as the owner of the part in the road reserve, or the resident, typically landowner, who's crossing their property?
If I may answer
Yes,
the question.
please do.
It relates to the owner of the property that's doing the works, not council. So basically, if there's a crossover, the responsibility for paying for those works is the landowner that's doing the works, not council.
Okay, so it's where it's going to, it's not from, in terms of from the road reserve to the private land or whatever. Okay.
Further questions? No? All those in favour of the recommendation to accept this unanimous, thank you very much. That, I believe, now takes us to questions from the public. Would you please like to stand if you have a question, state your name and present council with your question.
Sharon Potteringham from Fawcett. On behalf of Mrs. Kathy Venusi, who's unwell tonight from 10, she was just wondering if, and other members from Primrose Sands, wondering if there's an update on the sewage problem on the beach, the pollution problem.
Can I defer to Greg to answer that?
Thank you, Mayor. We have engaged some consultants that are going to be providing some further advice in relation to, I suppose, where we can do it. We did do an update on the website, so is this, I suppose, how it depends on how recent, because we did update and the report that was tabled at the last or pre-council meeting, so that was I did a report for council, which is on the agenda, and was it last meeting or the meeting before?
Last one.
Was it at the last meeting, so that it's on the public agenda, so you can refer Kathy to that. And that goes into a lot of detail about the investigation so far. And the recommendation from that report was to obtain some further professional advice. I'm not a groundwater geologist, so my belief is that there's a localised communal impact from septic systems getting down to the groundwater that's then running down. So some of the groundwater is being polluted and that's running down into the beach. So where we need advice is A, is that actually the case? Some further investigations and monitoring and some professional advice about what practically we do to mitigate that. Because we have to be realistic that Tasmania is not going to sue the area in the foreseeable future. So, realistically, I would believe that we have to sort of engage with the community, to talk with the community about how we're going to address it, and that might mean a process of could be opportunistic as properties are redeveloped and renovated, they upgrade as properties are undertaking sort of further works as their systems fail, they get updated to better systems. But we really need to get a little bit better understanding about what the extent of the problem is. Those consultants will start probably this week going down doing some preliminary work to give us some sort of further advice. We then plan to do some engagement with some of the residents in Primrose Sands, which will probably be in spring. Stacey, I need to report Stacey's title wrong.
Community relations.
Community relations. With linking it in with I just don't think the name of what it's called, community conversations. So looking at that as an opportunity to talk with residents about update and answer questions about where we're at in relation to that issue, and also some engagement on the Southern Beaches on-site wastewater and stormwater plan, which is quite related to that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Another question, I live in Fawcett as stated, and Fawcett has a huge problem with Spanish heath. I have two neighbours that have got 3/4 of all their paddocks are covered in Spanish heath and they're doing nothing to relieve the problem. I've kept it off my pastures to this point in time, but each Spanish heath plant produces millions of seeds. Is there anything the council can do to talk to the neighbours to control their paddocks and the spread of Spanish heath, or what happens?
Through the mayor, I need to take some advice from DBAS around the status of Spanish heath, if it's declared weed or not, which then has the flow effects if we can deal with owners on that basis or not. So I might get DBAS to make contact with you when he's back from leave, which will be, I think, later this week, to explain what the status is of that species. So I'll make a note of that.
Thank you. The other question, and I did talk to you before, but Air Services Australia was supposed to hand down a decision on the flight path over Primrose Sands and the other communities by the 30th of June. We've been waiting for that for 3 years. Air Services has misinformed both the Premier, the Minister Catherine King, probably even this council, that was to happen. We're 2 weeks overdue. There's been no apology or confirmation from Air Services as to when that decision's going to be handed down. I'm just hoping that you might write to Air Services on the community's behalf and ask what the situation is.
Through the mayor, spoke with Sharon before she came in, and she emailed me a week ago about all that, so I'll be, myself or Penny will pursue their services and see if we can get any further information for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
You're going to be, as usual, I'll ask about the gum trees and anyway, no. Can I understand that there's not going to be a lot of bulk green waste being picked up between now and October?
And, you have the schedule in front of you, so.
I know, this is what it's
So the
saying.
bulk, yeah, the bulk green waste, whilst it's done now 4 times a year, it's more skewed around the times of greatest demand. So,
Surely that should be winter time, when people do their gardening, to clear out for the summer.
yeah, the reason for picking those times when we did is contractor availability, but also that was the time, because we record the amount of bulk green waste we collect each month, and those timings reflect, because in winter the bulk green waste that we were collecting for the last 5 years would drop off, and then it would pick up in spring.
Didn't at my house.
You were
And,
other in the
last
building, you weren't.
I had more stuff to put in my garbage and my green bin than possible. The other thing was, there was a little bit of a, I won't say plasticine, but I'll say a snafu. On the 30th of June, it was advertised that we were going to have green waste out. All the streets in First Avenue had their green waste bins out. There were people, several on Facebook, complaining they didn't have anything picked up. So nothing happened. And my bin was full, and so was my garden as well. And a lady there can vouch for the fact that I had more rubbish in my garden than I needed. It wouldn't have fitted in.
Overzealous with the secretaries, that's what you were.
Yes. So,
Good job, you haven't got a chainsaw.
well,
We did publish an update, and it was a bit of a lesson that obviously the calendars went out with the rates, because it's quite expensive to do a separate mailer. Yeah. But what happened is, because it was the first week, the rates hadn't arrived, and whilst the information was available on the website, the vast majority of people probably hadn't seen. So I think we have to wear that one on the chin, but next year, we'll be sending out information earlier, and partly that'll be because of needing to get a lot of information to residents about FOGO, which we're planning to start from July next year. So there'll be a lot of educational information, including those brochures that we'll be planning about landing on your fridge earlier next year.
I just thought you should have been obliged to commit to the fact that it was there.
The issue is the contractor has a schedule of when they can do it, and there just were not trucks available to deploy at that time. And the reason we didn't do it the following week is the trucks, the OE has 3 trucks, and they do garbage recycling, or they do garbage and green waste. So you couldn't do it the following week because those trucks were allocated to do recycling. So that's why it's always if you ever wonder which week green waste is, if it's recycling week, you know it's not green waste week.
So I can look at this one and find that on the 14th, which was yesterday, the green waste will be picked up this week.
Well, it would have been picked up yesterday.
According to this.
Yes, that's right. It should have been picked up yesterday.
I don't know whether it picked up my.
Oh, sorry.
I must admit that-
Sorry, you're not you're on Wednesday. You're on
I'm
Wednesday
dodgers.
collection. Yeah.
So I'll check when I go home to see if it's still there.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, do you think?
Yeah.
If
Okay,
that's your normal garbage collection day, that's the day.
thank you. And I still not, probably know about the trees.
Like I say, good job you haven't got a chainsaw. Any further? No? Well, if there's no more questions, thank you everybody for coming out tonight. We will move into the closed meeting, and we'll close this public meeting at 16 minutes past 7. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you for having us, and for those who are attending our conference, if you like, please can I have Sue?
Yeah.